Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and we're back with another innovator interview. We're going to talk about how to reduce our water usage at home with Nudge Systems. They make a water monitor that is really easy to install and gives you all sorts of insight into what's going on with the water in your home. You know, the American West faces an historic drought this summer, and water conservation is more important than ever for 57 million Americans who live in the region, many of whom have taken water for granted until now. The good news is there are immediate savings readily available to everyone because the average family wastes about 180 gallons of water a week. That's equal to about 10 5-minute showers. But how do we track that water usage so that we can recognize when and how to save water? So we're going to talk with Nelson-Pedreiro, who is with Nudge Systems, and they make a device called the Pleco. It's a smart device that attaches to your water meter. You strap it to your water meter, and it tracks water usage by category. So it identifies toilet flushes and showers and washing the clothes or the dishes, as well as watering the lawn. It can also identify leaks long before they are visible to the eye. One tech magazine called this the Fitbit for your water meter. And we'd like to find out how it works and what kind of savings it can produce. Nelson, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Mitch, I'm well. Delighted to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. Now, Nudge, the Pleco device is really interesting. And folks, you can find out more at nudgesystems.com. But if you want to follow along, let's dig into this. I understand that your friend, Marcelo de Camargo, built the Pleco as a DIY project and that turned into the company. How did that happen, and what was the problem he was trying to solve?
Yeah, I think the DIY story, do it yourself, is it sounds good and whatnot. But it's not quite accurate. Let me tell you exactly how it went. My wife works for a local water company. She manages the local water company here. And in 2014, when there was another very severe drought in California, and there were state mandates to conserve 20%, 25% of water, a lot of her customers came to her and said, hey, we want to conserve, we want to do the right thing, but how do we know how much we're conserving, right? Because you only get information generally on your utilities once a month in bulk. And she's really into conservation and in general, nature and conserving natural resources. So she really pressed hard. I'm an aerospace engineer. Marcelo is a good friend, is a double E, electronics engineer with a background on the renewable energy industry. And she really, in barbecues and the weekend and so on, she really started pressing on us and basically
talked you into it.
She did. She recruited us to do that. And we started working together, and Marcelo being a double E, he put together an Arduino system that he was using his home for controlling lights and things like that. He repurposed that and showed that, hey, we can measure pulses here from a water meter. And from there, we started really developing, right? Because it's when you really go look at what this product does, the easiness of use that you mentioned too, right? There are no tools required to install. Anybody can go. You just wrap it up like a wristwatch, but you, instead of putting it on a wrist, you put it around the water meter.
Well, that's the big difference. And what stood out for me is that the other water meter monitoring systems that we've looked at require you plumb something in to monitor the flow of the water. But this is actually using a magnetometer to sense the water flowing through the valve that's already in the water meter. Is that correct?
That is correct. Most water meters, not all, but most water meters, they have a non-mechanical coupling. It's a magnetic coupling between the turbine and the actual dial, right? All the mechanisms that show for the water company that comes to read the meter how much water is being used. And so as that magnetic coupling rotates, we use a 3-axis high sensitivity magnetometer to sense that. We translate that into pulses. We calibrate, translate that into gallons or liters or cubic feet, right, in volume of water, and that's how it's done. So the easiness of use, that's not a simple problem to solve that you can, because when you imagine if I wrap it up around the water meter, right, and then somebody else, my neighbor, wraps up around his water meter, we're not going to put it exactly on the same location, right? So all the software and the smartness, so that it doesn't matter where you mount it, it it self-adjusts and calibrates itself, right? And then again, water is a very fragmented industry with small little companies everywhere. So water meters, they come in all shapes and sizes. They last forever. So we're dealing in some cases with water meters that are 30 years old and they still work. And the system has to work with all these different kind of water meters and so on. So automating all of that, making it easy to use, making sure that it's accurate. Mm-hmm. It's not a simple task. I would not call that a do-it-yourself at all. And then on top of that, what's really novel in our system, another novelty that, to my knowledge, no other system does, is it can differentiate between different types of water use, right? Shower, faucet, flush, sprinkler system, and so on. And frankly, this is really, really useful because at the end of the day, to make a smart decision about how you use your water, you need to understand when you use water, how and where you use the water, right? So you can make adjustments accordingly.
Now, so let me just briefly describe. You strap the monitor on it. There's a antenna that goes in the water monitor space that is communicating with your home, and that can go through Wi-Fi to an app or to you have a display device that comes with it as well. So you get this readout easily visualized for you.
Absolutely.
Is that, and that app gives you tips as well, as I understand it.
That is right. So the way, you're 100% right. The way it works is it comes as a self-contained package, right? Even if you don't have a smartphone or if you don't have Wi-Fi, you will mount the sensor to the water meter. The sensor will be using RF link to communicate with the hub, which is the display that you mentioned. And so right there, you're going to have on the display your real-time live updates on your water usage, and you have all the functionality that the system provides. If you do have a smartphone, which nowadays most of us do, and if you do have a Wi-Fi, then you can use the hub, the display, and you can connect to the Wi-Fi. In that way, your data gets uploaded to the server. You can look at the data to your computer, a larger screen, or you can have on your smartphone. It is amazing. Even though most of our customers prefer the smartphone, myself included, right? I check it out and so on. There are some customers that prefer to have the display. They just put the display on either on their living room or the kitchen counter or their home office, and they use it like that. And some of them tell me, hey, I never look at the app on the phone. I just use the display. That's my preference. So there is a user preference here, and we're able to accommodate both.
And does this device and system interact with other smart home systems? Can you integrate this so that it's you get a more comprehensive view of everything, including your home?
Yeah, hey, Mitch, you're thinking way ahead. So we have a product development plan that thinks exactly like that, right? If you think about the Nest, thermostat, right? That very nice, beautiful round display. Our data could be displayed there, right? But we haven't done that integration yet, as well as with other systems. We haven't focused on that yet. We just launched the product in January and at CES 2021. We have had very good response. So we now have a development plan that we're going to be adding features and adding some functionalities. So that's still to come. But your thinking is right on the money there.
Now the Pleco costs $249. You get the whole thing: the monitor, the display, the antenna, and so forth. And of course, different water systems charge different amounts for water. What's the average payback time from adding this in terms of water saving?
Yeah, the average that we've seen amongst our customers, it is anywhere between 10 to 20%. So I would say 15% is the average. Mm-hmm. And that's basically on normal use, right? That's basically the customer installs it. And then, of course, there are some things that you find out right away, right? Like my sprinkler system is running too long, right? Or is running too many times a week. Or in my case, my home, when I've been testing this for a long time and so on, I found out that I have hard water in my home. So I have a water softener. Mm-hmm. And the water softener was regenerating 3 times a week. It doesn't need to do that. It's once a week or every other week. And every time it does it, it's between 200 and 300 gallons of water that it's used to. Yeah. Now, guess what? It happens at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So I would never find out, right? Mm-hmm. Without a device, without Pleco, because I got my water bill at the end of the month and it's everything aggregated. I can't tell what's what. So I could see that. I could say, hey, something is happening at 3. Look at this huge use of water. So I tracked it down and, then I reprogrammed it and there you go. So there's, 15% is the average. Of course, if you find a leak, right? And some of our customers have found a leak.
Right.
then it's much, right. It's going to pay for itself much faster. So it takes about 18 months to pay for itself, and about a 15 average savings. And I think I said that, but I do want to say that Nudge Systems, we're all about conservation of water, conservation of natural resources. That's really what drives us. Our motto is save water, save on water. And actually the order in which these two sentences go together, save water is our priority, right? We're really environmental conscious. So if you believe in saving the environment, if you believe in saving water, if you believe in leaving a better world for our children and so on, and come work with us. As a consequence, you're also going to save some money. We're going to save on water, right? You're going to save some money on that. That's a nice consequence, but frankly, saving the environment is really our focus here.
Well, and sustainability does have economic benefits. A lot of people tend to think of the cost. They focus on the $249 up front rather than long-term savings from reducing the water usage overall.
Right.
Now, a practical question, because I've been looking at the water meter in our space, and we just recently had a new one installed, but it took up a lot more space in the in-ground place that they put it. Can I put the antenna above ground if it doesn't fit in there?
Yes, you can. We designed it so that you see the largest piece of our sensor is really not the sensor. The sensor is very small. It looks like a round watch. If you look on the web, you're going to see it.
It looks like a watch.
Exactly. And it mounts around the water meter itself. So it's very small. And then you have this cylindrical piece, and that's our battery case. And we designed that to last at least 12 months on average use. So if you have a higher use, it's going to go faster than that, shorter than that. If you don't use too much water, it's going to go longer than that. But that's really the biggest piece. And it also serves as the base that holds the antenna that you're describing. So in general, in the various, and we tested this in many, many facilities and homes and so on. In general, it does fit, even if you need to put the battery enclosure, that cylindrical piece, on its side, it's not a problem. But if you need to put the antenna outside, that's actually even better for the signal strength. But we did design so that this whole thing can go underwater with concrete or metal lid on top of it.
Now, let's talk about how it identifies a leak and what happens when do you get an alert? How smart is it in terms of saying you've got a problem?
Yeah, so here's the trick. We really stopped shy of saying you have a leak. What we do is we give an alert that you may have a leak. And the reason for that is, let's say I leave my home now and I forgot the faucet running, right? I was shaving, so on, and phone rang and I forgot the faucet running, right? It's not quite the leak, but the result is
water usage from the
exactly. So right. So there's going to be no damage to the property and so on because it's flowing on the sink and all of that. Nonetheless, is wasting water, right? So you will get an alert saying that, hey, you may have a leak, right? Then I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at our app, and I encourage the viewers here to go to our website. On the homepage, 2/3 of the way on the homepage, you can actually try the app out. You can sign in and you can try the app and you can get a feel for how it works. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. And of course, I'm an engineer, so my favorite screen on the app is one that shows the flow rate versus time, right? So it's a line graph. And each one of these different water use types, right? If you flush, if you take a shower, if you're washing your hands and so on, each one of these has a different signature in terms of flow rate versus time, right? So you can take a look at that and you can have a very good understanding of what's happening. This is, for example, this is what I did when I told you the story about to track down my 300 gallon 3 times a week, 3 a.m. in the morning, right? I look at the trace. I said, well, what could possibly be using this much water and just like that? And there's right. And then you go right there.
So calculus is what is going on, and it's describing, it's looking at what it expects to see and identifies variance from that what it expects.
Right.
Now, I recently, not too long ago, I had to have my entire basement rebuilt because of a rat chewing through a small water tube. It would have been wonderful to have that called out to me a lot sooner because it cost me a ton of money. But
yes.
How does it have the smarts to, for instance, recognize the difference between a leak and, say, a toilet seal that doesn't close completely? Can it characterize that to that degree?
That is in our. Remember, I talked to you. We have a product enhancement plan. That's in our enhancement plan. Right now, it can't. Right now, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you either on the display and on your smartphone. It's going to tell you may have a leak, and a little alarm, a little sign comes up, very visible on the screen. You're going to see that, right? And then you can go to this flow rate screen that I mentioned to you, and you can find out what's going on, right? Why does Pleco think I have a leak, right? And then you can take a look at the flow rate versus time, and you can see when did it start.
Right. Okay. Of course. Right? Got it.
Exactly. Is it a big leak? Is it a small leak? Right. And how long is it going to? I mean, what's going on here? And you can get a lot of insight there. Now, what we're working on right now is to basically implement and automate all these insights, right, that I'm telling you that you see on the screen, automate all that so that it could actually do what you're talking about, which is say, hey, we think you have a leak. And by the way, we think it is, a toilet valve that's not sealing properly. It is very possible to do that. We're not quite there yet.
With all the signals you have, you could train artificial intelligence to recognize these things all the time. It's just a matter of collecting enough data from customers as well as the things that you're doing internally to develop it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are so many things you can do with this, Mitch. Just a fun fact for you, right? Before the the pandemic, when I was still traveling, right? Mm-hmm. As I'm landing somewhere, right? Always before calling home, I would bring Pleco up and see if it's early in California, right? If my wife had already waken up and if there was water activity, I could tell. Okay, so now I can call. So yeah, there's a lot of patterns of life, and there's a lot of fun stuff with kids. I mean, one of the nice surprises for us is some of our customers came back to us and said, "Hey, my 6-year-old love it," right? Because I think children nowadays, the new generation, they are more aware, right, of the environment and so on. And the app is very easy to use and colorful and so on. So children like it. And that's really what we're so excited about, right? Because a lot of this is not just that you have an alarm system that tells about a leak or this and that. It's educating all of us in terms of how we use water, where we can save, what are the smart ways to save, and so on.
Now, let's talk a little about the device and how you make it. Do you use sustainable processes to make and distribute the device?
Yes. To the extent possible. If you take a look at the product itself, most of the parts are injection molded, and it is done that way because this is, most of our sensors, most of water meters are underground, right? On the East Coast, and a lot of times they're on the basement, which is a more controlled environment, a less harsh environment. But in most locations, they're underground. They get submerged when people turn on the sprinklers, or if it rains a lot, and so on. So that was the right way to do for the mechanical design. The electronics also are basically standard printed circuit board electronics, miniaturized to the extent possible. So the product is supposed to last a very long time. It's mechanically robust. So there is this time element, right?
So you can recover the carbon, the embodied carbon, through use.
Exactly.
But do you use any post-consumer recycled material in the device now, or could you, in order to make it more sustainable?
Yes, we do. We do, and not in all components, but we do, and there are other components that we're looking at expanding that as well. The packaging materials are all can be recycled and so on.
Now, where can our listeners buy Pleco? Is it only available at your site, or could you get it through Amazon or any of the other?
You can get it through Amazon. It is available on our website, and so that's probably the easiest way. But it is also available to Amazon. So these are the two channels currently that you can get Pleco.
Well, thank you, Nelson. This is really fascinating. We're going to be trying this out. I wanted to ask questions before I went ahead and bought it. Sorry.
Very good. Excellent.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Mitch. Pleasure talking to you.
We've been talking with Nelson-Pedreiro. He's one of the co-founders of Nudge Systems, and you can find them at nudgesystems.com. Nudge Systems is one word, no period or dash. nudgesystems.com, and check out the Pleco. It's $249. You can order direct from the company, or it's available on Amazon. Folks, take some time to look at your own water usage because we waste tremendous amount of it. And if you can use a tool, whether it's this one or another, we encourage you to do so because by measuring, we can recognize how we can improve. And also, would you take a moment and share this podcast with 2 or 3 friends? Let's get the ideas out there so that we can reduce our waste as a society. We would appreciate it. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. We'll be back with another sustainability in your ear soon. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and let's all take care of our beautiful planet. Have a green day.